So we started this week by making a slight change to the scene where the father and John make up. So before we had it where we kind of gave a very negative view surrounding it, saying that John had the opportunity to open up, but instead he chose not to. However, he did show some of his feelings, and if we think about it more positively, he showed non-verbal communication, and non-verbal communication is still a form of communication. And as long as you feel supported and like you feel like you've got your feelings out there, then there's no right way to communicate. Because John still managed to communicate to his father how he wanted to apologise, and his father managed to communicate to him that he'd forgiven him, and they'd sorted that out. So this again puts more positive light on it, makes it seem less critical and less like we're forcing them to talk, because that of course is not the case. We also got to have we could use a bit of banter with the narrators in this bit, as when they finish the scene, one of the narrators says, "John and his father have just made up," and the other narrator says, "No, they haven't," and John in the scene breaks and says, "Yes, we have." And this, because they didn't use their words. They didn't have to. Non-verbal communication is still communication. And this nice little bit of banter creates a humorous moment, as well as letting the audience be aware that non-verbal communication is still a valid form of communication. And doing this in a humorous way, with a bit of banter, helps to connect with the audience, as that's how they communicate. A lot of males like to communicate in a jokingly way. So we also made a change when we facilitated with the sliding scale. So at the end, when we suggested last time that we could do a sliding scale where when we got the answers of the questions and John responds with he tried to communicate but Holly wouldn't listen, we suggested that we could replay John's lines. But we changed that, and instead we are just playing all of John's and Holly's scenes. Because this is an important moment and it should be rushed, because it's very much highlighting all the opportunities John had to communicate and the times when John tried to communicate but he wasn't communicating effectively. So by replaying all these scenes, we can see the audience can see in detail where these opportunities were and where he could have improved, and it highlights what barriers got in his way. So we then decided to move on and explore John's relationship with his friends, as this was something that hopefully everyone in the audience could relate to. And we wanted to make the scenes very relatable, as then we could connect with the audience and then can apply that to their real life and hopefully become more likely to take on the message of the play. So we devised a scene that was set just before the Mini Cooper scene. So we started off with John wanting to get drunk and forget everything. And we gave him a few lines that suggest this and say this. So in response to this, we have a big group of friends showing that we want to show that he doesn't have to talk to all his friends. But the majority of his friends cheer and take it as an excuse to get drunk and have good fun on a night out. However, we have one friend, which is Adam, he has appeared a few times in the play, or in the piece. He appears worried and wants to talk to John and ask why he's drinking so much and why he needs to forget everything. What's on his mind? So this takes on the wise talker ideas that we wanted to develop, all part of Storms. So we thought we could forum theatre this, And so we decided to play the scene with the friend wanting to talk to John, and he gets caught up with the rest of the friends as they head to the park. So this obviously showed Adam being unable to communicate his worry and being in a position where John couldn't communicate his feelings back either when they're surrounded by so many friends. So we could forum theatre this and ask the audience what Adam could do to help get in a position where John, and have an opportunity where John could open up to him. So the answer to that obviously would be to get him alone, away from the rest of his friends, so it is more personal and less, intrusive, all the other friends yelling and shouting about getting drunk. So that we could again replay the scene, getting him alone. And then from here, we have the potential to forum theatre how he's going to talk to him. So this leads into introduces the wise talker ideas of saying how they're feeling and saying it back to them, and all these kind of ideas that Storms are trying to present, because it's very hard to just open up, and especially for males who find it difficult to express their feelings. Sometimes you need a friend to help you do that, and that's kind of what Wise Talkers is about, helping your friends to express their feelings. And a lot of the time, some people can't relate to being so trapped in that position of not being able to express, but if they have an underlying mental health issue and not being able to express this. But friends can notice people like this and notice their friends suffering in silence in this way, then they can help them open up, and then their feelings don't go unacknowledged.